They say a man's land is his castle, but what's a castle worth when the walls are made of barbed wire and the king's got a family to protect? Some debts can't be paid with silver. Elias Thorne knew that truth in his bones, felt it in the Arizona dust that clung to his sweat-stained shirt. The creaking windmill, a lonely sentinel against the vast expanse of the Verde Valley, was the only sound that dared break the morning's tension. A tension thick enough to choke a man. 3 days. That's all they had. 3 days until the U.S. cavalry was due to arrive from Prescott. 3 days to hold on to what was his. His wife, Sarah, hummed a tuneless melody as she mended a tear in young Billy's trousers. The rhythmic needle pulls a small comfort. Billy, all elbows and knees, fidgeted, etching lines in the dirt with a stick. He was too young to understand the weight of the air, the fear that clung to their small ranch house like a shroud. Elias envied him that ignorance. What will it cost him now? The boy stopped humming. Pa, you think they'll come back? Elias knelt, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. We won't let them, son. This is our home. He didn't say if. Saying if aloud would give it power. The attack 2 nights ago had been swift and brutal. Chiricahua raiders, led by that ghost they called the Shadow. They'd taken 2 horses, a milk cow, and left a trail of destruction that ran deeper than the gouges in the barn door. And they'd left something else. Something that gnawed at Elias's gut like a hungry wolf. Near the burned-out wagon, he'd found it. A child's beaded bracelet. Not Apache work. Something different. Turquoise and silver, delicately woven. Where had it come from? The sun bleeds red, casting long, distorted shadows that danced like demons across the yard. Elias scanned the horizon, his hand instinctively reaching for the Winchester leaning against the porch post. Every rustle of brush, every distant coyote howl, sent a jolt of adrenaline through him. How many were out there? What did they want? He heard the jingle of spurs. Caleb, their ranch hand, rode up on their remaining horse, Dust Devil. The leather saddle squeaked a mournful song under his weight. Sign out by Black Mesa, Elias, Caleb said, his voice tight. Fresh. Looks like they're heading towards the pass. What if mercy ruins justice? The pass. The secret pass. A path through the mountains known only to a few. A path that could lead the raiders straight to the town of Sedona. A path he'd sworn to keep secret. A promise made to a dying friend. But what was a promise worth when weighed against the lives of his family, of the townspeople? He thought of the bracelet again. He remembered its fine workmanship. Was this about more than just riding? Caleb, Elias said, his voice low. Keep watch. Don't let them get close. Who pays if he chooses wrong? Caleb nodded, his eyes grim. You thinking about the pass, Elias? Elias didn't answer. The air hangs thick with unspoken dread. That night, under a sky ablaze with stars, Elias sat on the porch, the Winchester across his lap. Zara brought him coffee, the porcelain cup clinking softly against the saucer who pays if he chooses wrong. Elias, she said, her voice barely a whisper. What are you going to do? He looked at her, at the lines of worry etched around her eyes. He saw the fear she tried to hide for Billy's sake. I'll do what I have to do, Sarah. To protect you both. He didn't tell her about the pass. Didn't tell her about the bracelet. Didn't tell her about the growing suspicion that clawed at his insides. What if justice kills hope? Silence cracks like a whip. Only the distant drumming, faint but insistent, broke the stillness. Apache drums. Or were they? Elias knew he couldn't wait for the cavalry. He had to act. He had to know what the shadow was planning. The next morning, Elias tracked the raiders. He followed their trail through the harsh terrain, his senses on high alert. The scent of rain teases, but no clouds offered relief from the burning sun. He found signs of a small skirmish, a broken arrow, a discarded canteen. And then he found him. Can he reach it before the light dies? A young Apache scout, no older than Billy, lay wounded in a shallow gully. An arrow protruded from his leg, his face contorted in pain. Elias approached cautiously, his rifle raised. The boy looked up, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and defiance. He spat at Elias's feet. Elias lowered his rifle. He could kill the boy. End it quickly. Extract information. But looking into those young eyes, he saw something else. Desperation who pays if he chooses wrong. He knelt beside the boy, ignoring the pain in his own weary bones. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, his voice rough but gentle. "I just want to know why." The boy remained silent, his eyes narrowed. Elias pulled out his knife, and with a steady hand, cut away the boy's tattered trousers. The wound was festering. "I can help you," Elias said. "But you have to tell me what's going on. Why are you doing this?" He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a water skin. He offered it to the boy. The boy hesitated, then took a tentative sip. Was this mercy or madness? Was he a fool to trust this boy? Or was this his only chance to understand the darkness that threatened to engulf them all? What price would he pay for this gamble? He began to clean the boy's wound, the silence broken only by the boy's ragged breaths and the distant buzz of flies. Fear tastes like dust. He worked, slow and deliberate. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, beating down on them both. Finally, the boy spoke, his voice weak but clear. "The shadow. He promised us land. Promised us the white man's land if we helped him." Land? The Apache already had their land. Why would they need to raid for more? Elias pressed him. What else did he promise? The boy hesitated. He said he would open the way. The way through the mountains. What if mercy ruins justice? The pass. Elias's stomach churned. The shadow knew about the pass. He was using the Apache, promising them a future that was built on lies. But the boy had revealed more than he knew. The shadow didn't just want to raid. He wanted something bigger. Something that involved the town of Sedona. The boy winced as Elias tightened the bandage. He said there was something hidden there. Something worth more than land. Is the price worth the trail ahead? What was hidden in Sedona? Elias helped the boy sit up. What's your name? Naiche, the boy said. His voice barely audible. Can he reach it before the light dies? Naiche, Elias repeated. My name is Elias. I'm going to help you. But helping the key meant betraying his promise. It meant potentially leading the shadow to Sedona. What was the real price of victory? Elias knew what he had to do. He had to stop the shadow, even if it meant breaking his word. He looked at Niki. Can you walk? Naiche shook his head. What if mercy ruins justice? Elias sighed. He would have to carry him. A distant drumming grew louder. A heartbeat reversal. What if justice kills hope? Elias hoisted Naiche onto his back. The boy's weight, a heavy burden. He started walking towards Sedona. The 3 days were shrinking fast. Is the price worth the trail ahead? Some debts can't be paid with silver. Elias stared at the beaded bracelet, the colors vibrant against the dust-caked earth. Not Apache. Navajo, maybe. Or something else entirely. Something he couldn't place. The sun bled red, painting the valley in hues of fire and desperation. He tucked the bracelet into his pocket. The leather saddle squeaks a mournful song. He had to decide about the boy. The boy lay in the root cellar, bound but conscious, his eyes wide with a fear that mirrored his own. Elias had cleaned the wound, a gash on the boy's leg that oozed even now. Elias had seen boys that age back east, learning their sums and courting the girls. Here in the Arizona territory, they were scouts and warriors. How much information did this boy have? Elias knelt. The air hangs thick with the smell of blood and damp earth. "What's your name?" Elias asked, his voice low, trying to project a calm he didn't feel. The boy spat. Elias sighed. He hadn't expected a warm welcome. "I'm Elias. I patched you up. Could have left you for the buzzards. Can he reach it before the light dies?" The boy remained silent, defiant. A coyote howls in the distance, a lonely sound that echoed Elias's own isolation. "They call their leader the Shadow," Elias pressed. "You know him?" The boy's silence stretched, punctuated only by the creaking windmill outside. Elias felt the frustration rising, a bitter taste in his mouth. Was he wrong to even try? Maybe a bullet would be quicker, cleaner. But the thought turned his stomach. He wasn't a killer. Not yet, anyway. What choice would he have tomorrow? He left the boy with a canteen of water and a hunk of bread. The silence cracks like a whip as he climbed back into the evening air. He needed to talk to Sarah. Zara met him on the porch, her face etched with worry. "Any sign of them?" "Not yet," Elias said, "but they'll be back. I found one of their scouts. A boy. What if justice kills hope?" He told her about the bracelet, about the boy's silence. Sarah listened, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The scent of rain teases, a false promise in the dry air. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I don't know," Elias admitted. "I thought maybe I could get something out of him. But he won't talk. What will it cost him now?" "Maybe he's just scared," Sarah said softly. "Maybe he doesn't know anything." Elias doubted that. But he knew Sarah's heart. She saw the good in people, even when there wasn't much to see. He trusted her instincts, even when his own screamed for action. "I promised Jed," Elias said, the words heavy with guilt. "To protect that passage. But if the Shadow uses it to attack Prescott, what if mercy ruins justice?" Sarah put a hand on his arm. "We'll figure it out, Elias. We always do." But did they? Could they? With the U.S. cavalry still days away, and the Shadow closing in, Elias felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. How much was one man's promise worth when measured against the lives of innocent people? Nightfall brought no respite. The distant drumming started again, a steady, ominous rhythm that vibrated in Elias's bones. He patrolled the perimeter, rifle in hand, the fear tastes like dust in his mouth. He checked on the livestock, their nervous movements a constant reminder of their vulnerability, Who pays if he chooses wrong? He stopped at the root cellar. The boy hadn't touched the bread. He was curled in a ball, his eyes closed. Was he asleep? Or just pretending? Elias knelt again, the darkness making the boy's features indistinct. I know you're scared, he said, his voice barely a whisper. But I need your help. If you know something, anything, you have to tell me. He paused, waiting. Silence. What will it cost him now? They're going to attack Prescott, Elias said, hoping to provoke a reaction. They're going to use a White Mountain Pass. The boy flinched. It was barely perceptible, but Elias saw it. You know about the pass, Elias said, his voice hardening. Tell me what you know. What will it cost him now? Still nothing. Elias stood, his patience wearing thin. He had until first light to make a decision. He had to decide whether to trust a scared boy or betray a sacred promise. The choice felt impossible. He spent the rest of the night pacing, the creaking windmill his only companion. He thought of Jed, lying in his arms, his last words a plea to protect the pass. He thought of Sarah, her unwavering faith in him. He thought of his children, sleeping soundly in their beds, oblivious to the danger that surrounded them. As the first rays of dawn painted the sky, Elias made his decision. It was a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his days, a decision that would test the very limits of his soul. But he knew it was the only way. He walked to the root cellar, the leather saddle squeaks a death knell. He unlocked the door and stepped inside. The boy looked up, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and resignation. I'm going to let you go, Elias said, his voice flat. But you have to promise me something. Is the price worth the trail ahead? The boy didn't answer. You have to promise me you'll tell me everything you know about the Shadow and his plans for Prescott, Elias continued. If you lie to me, if you hold anything back, I'll hunt you down. Do you understand? The boy nodded. Slowly. What if mercy ruins justice? Swear it, Elias demanded. The boy hesitated, then spoke, his voice raspy and weak. I swear. Elias untied the boy's hands and feet. He watched as the boy stood, his legs unsteady. What will it cost him now? Tell me, Elias said. Tell me everything. What was the risk of believing a single word? Was there any other option? He hefted the Winchester, the metal cold against his sweating palm. The sun bled red across the western horizon, painting the valley in hues of blood and fire. 3 days. 72 hours. Felt like 72 seconds. He found the boy huddled behind a scraggly mesquite, clutching his leg. 15, Elias guessed. Fear shone in his dark eyes, bright as a trapped rabbit's. Elias knelt, leather squeaking in the sudden silence. Air thick with wood smoke and fear. Easy, son, he said, voice rough. I ain't gonna hurt you. Yet, ta. The boy flinched, but didn't run. Smart enough to know he couldn't. Elias could smell the coppery tang of blood. Caleb, his boy, was about that age. What would he do? He reached into his saddlebag, pulling out a canteen and a strip of clean cloth. The boy watched him, weary as a cornered wolf. Let me see that leg. Elias spoke slowly, deliberately, like talking down a spooked horse. The boy hesitated, then extended his leg. Jagged tear marred his buckskin trousers, stained crimson. Elias cut away the fabric. Ugly wound, a bullet crease ripped through muscle, but missed the bone. Lucky, Elias muttered, more to himself. Could have been a lot worse. He poured water over the wound, the boy hissing. Elias cleaned it methodically, then wrapped it tightly with cloth. Tore another strip, fashioned a makeshift sling. There, he said, sitting back. That'll hold you for now. The boy looked at him, suspicion warring with something that might have been gratitude. Why? He asked, voice a low rasp. What if justice kills hope? Elias shrugged. Don't rightly know. Maybe, 'cause you remind me of my own son. Maybe 'cause I'm tired of all this killing. I'd planned to leave him. Patch him up, ride on. But that boy's eyes. He held out the canteen. The boy took it, fingers brushing Elias's. Drank deeply, eyes never leaving Elias's face. Who are you? Elias asked. Voice neutral. Is the price worth the trail ahead? The boy hesitated, then spoke. I am called Nalin Durjan. Nalin, Elias repeated. You with the Chiricahua? Nalin nodded, gaze dropping to the ground. Coyote howls grew closer, mournful cries echoing across the darkening valley. What if mercy ruins justice? The shadow. He leads you? Nalin flinched. He is our war chief. What does he want? Why attack my ranch? Elias pressed. What will it cost him now? Nalin shook his head. I do not know everything. He tells us only what we need to know. Elias studied the boy's face, searching for deception. Saw only fear and a flicker of regret. Did he dare trust him? Could he risk believing this boy, even a little? What if it was a trap? The soldiers, Nalin said suddenly, voice barely a whisper. They come soon? Elias nodded. 3 days. Maybe less, if they push hard. Nalin looked up, eyes wide. He knows. The shadow knows they are coming. Is the price worth the trail ahead? Then why attack now? Elias asked, mind racing. Why risk everything? Nalin swallowed hard. He wants something. Something hidden. Hidden. What was hidden here worth risking a war with the U.S. cavalry? Elias thought of his land, his home, everything he had worked for. Was it all about to be taken away? Scent of rain teased the air, a promise of relief that might never come. There is a passage, Nalin said, voice barely audible above the wind. Through the mountains. One only few know. Elias felt a cold dread grip his heart. The secret passage. He had sworn to Jebediah, his dying friend, that he would never reveal its existence. It was a way through the mountains, a shortcut that could save lives. Or destroy them. Can he reach it before the light dies? The shadow, Nalin continued. He plans to use the passage to attack the town. Elias felt like he'd been punched in the gut. The town. His family, his friends, all the people he knew and cared about. They would all be vulnerable. He had a choice to make. Keep his promise to Jebediah and let the town be slaughtered. Or betray that promise and risk everything to stop the shadow. The distant drumming started, a slow, steady beat that resonated deep within Elias's bones. It was a war drum, a call to arms. He looked at Nalin, face etched with pain and fear. The boy was just a pawn in this game, a victim of circumstance. But he held the key, the information that could save lives. Tell me about this passage, Elias said, voice hard. Tell me everything. What will it cost him now? The creaking windmill, a constant presence on the ranch, seemed to groan and protest. What was the moral price of victory? Could he live with himself if he broke his promise? And even if he did, could he trust Nayland enough to lead him to the shadow? Nightfall had come, and the ranch was swallowed by darkness. The only light came from the moon, a sliver of silver in the inky sky. Elias knew he had to act fast. The clock was ticking, and the shadow was coming. The fear tastes like dust in his mouth who pays if he chooses wrong. Some debts can't be paid with silver. The boy's eyes, wide and dark as a moonless night, stared up at Elias. Fear tasted like dust. Elias knelt, Winchester heavy, the windmill a mournful song in the rising wind. He smelled blood, the boy's sweat, the earth raw from violence. What was one Apache boy against his wife, his daughter, everything he'd built? He lowered the rifle. Elias uncorked a water skin, offering it. The boy flinched, then licked cracked lips. He poured slowly. Rain teased the air. A gash bled on the boy's thigh. He ripped a strip from his own shirt. Easy now, Elias murmured, voice rough. He pressed the cloth, staunching the flow. The boy hissed, but didn't pull away. Whiskey to sterilize it. Too precious to waste. Bleeding slowed, Elias sat back. The sun bled red, painting the sky. Why? Elias asked, the word a croak. Why attack my ranch? What if mercy ruins justice? The boy stared, unblinking. He understood. Defiance or fear. Elias sighed, lost in the wind. Sentiment was a luxury. He needed information. His wife and daughter. Could he torture a child? He stood holstering his revolver. I'm going to clean the wound, he said more to himself. Then we'll talk. The next hour was tense. Elias cleaned, the boy gritting his teeth. Eyes watched, assessing. The air hung thick. As he bandaged, Elias noticed a small, intricately woven pouch tied to the boy's belt. Soft leather, beads he didn't recognize. Not Apache. What's this? Elias asked, fingers brushing the pouch. The boy flinched, pulling away. His face was unreadable. It's mine, the boy whispered. Where did you get it? Elias pressed, goot twisting. Silence. Time was running out. The sun sank, casting long shadows. First light was less than 10 hours away. What did the shadow want? What was in that pouch? What the hell was going on? He looked at the boy, drawn and pale, a mix of fear and defiance. If you don't tell me, Elias said, voice low, I'll leave you here. The coyotes will find you before morning. Was he bluffing? He didn't know. The boy looked toward the mountains, shrouded in darkness. Distant drumming echoed faintly, a primal rhythm. What if mercy ruins justice? They want the pass, the boy whispered. The shadow wants the white stone pass. Elias felt cold dread. The white stone pass. A secret passage. A promise to a dying friend. But now, his family. Why? Elias asked, voice hoarse. What if justice kills hope? To attack harmony, the boy said, meeting Elias's eyes. To burn it to the ground. Harmony. Just south of his ranch. Supplies friends of his wife. He closed his eyes. How many hours until nightfall? How many until the raiders reached Harmony? Betray his promise to save his family? Silence cracks like a whip. Elias stood, legs like lead. A decision to make, fate of family, land, Harmony. A choice that would stain his soul. He looked at the boy, wounded, afraid. A pawn in a game by the shadow. Can he reach it before the light dies? Elias walked to his horse, untying his canteen. He offered it again. Tell me everything, Elias said, voice flat. Everything about the shadow, the pass, the attack on Harmony. The boy hesitated, then reached for the canteen, eyes never leaving Elias's. What if justice kills hope? As the boy drank, Elias felt a knot tighten. No turning back. The moral price of victory. How far was Harmony? 20 miles? How many raiders? Enough to overwhelm the town's defenses. He heard a child's humming, faint on the wind. His daughter. Safe? Alive? He had to know. He had to act. The boy lowered the canteen, gaze steady. I will tell you, he said. But you must promise me something. What? Elias asked, wary what if mercy ruins justice. You must promise to protect my people, the boy said. After it is over, you must protect those who are left. Elias stared, heart pounding. Protect his people? After they attacked? A trick? No deception in the boy's eyes. Only a desperate plea can he reach it before the light dies. The creaking windmill continued its mournful song. Coyote howls grew louder. Distant drumming pulsed like a heartbeat. How much time left? Seconds ticking away. He had sworn to protect the pass. His family. Now protect his enemies. Hand reached out and pulled the boy closer. He had to be warm. Is the price worth the trail ahead? What was right? Was there even a right anymore? Elias took a deep breath, the scent of rain heavy. He looked at the boy, pain and fear etched. His wife, his daughter, the people of Harmony. The beaded bracelet near his burned-out home. Not Apache. And now, this boy, asking for protection who pays if he chooses wrong? Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. I promise, Elias said, voice barely a whisper. I promise to protect your people. The boy nodded, relief flickering. His name is not the shadow, the boy said. His name is, he paused, afraid to speak the name. What if justice kills hope? Tell me, Elias urged, hand instinctively reaching for his revolver. The boy swallowed hard. His name is Thorne. Elias froze, every muscle tensing. Thorne? That was his name. Who was this Thorne? And what did he want? He rubbed the boy's temples, ignoring the circling flies. The setting sun bled red, painting the valley blood and fire. Could this boy lead him to the shadow? Or would trusting him kill them all? Elias cleaned the wound with whiskey. Nalin flinched, but didn't cry. Bravery ill-fitting such young shoulders. He bound it tight with torn cloth. What's your name, boy? He asked, low. Nalin looked up, eyes dark and wary. Nalin, he whispered, barely audible above the creaking windmill. Nalin, Elias repeated, testing the name. You ride with the shadow? Nalin's gaze fixed on the dirt floor. Elias squatted, hand on the boy's shoulder. Nalin, my family. They're in danger. He intends to hurt them. If you know anything, you have to tell me. Silence cracked like a whip as another hour passed. Nalin whispered, he is angry. He seeks something. Something taken. Taken from whom? Elias pressed, his heart pounding. What does he seek? I do not know the name, Nalin said, shaking his head. Only, it is old. It belongs to his people. He says the white man stole it. Elias frowned. Stolen? Worth bloodshed. And what people? The Chiricahua cared little for trinkets. This felt deeper, older. He walked to the doorway, scanning the darkening landscape. The U.S. cavalry was 2 days away at best. 2 days to decipher a madman's motives, protect his family, and survive. The true cost of survival. To bargain with this boy's fear. He returned to Nalin, offering dried meat. Eat, Deos. You'll need your strength. Nalin hesitated, then gnawed on it slowly. Elias watched, his mind racing. Beaded bracelet, stolen artifact, connected. Missing something obvious? He thought of Sarah and little Thomas, huddled in the cellar, fear etched on their faces. He had to protect them, no matter the cost. Even trusting a boy who rode with killers. Later, as darkness deepened, the distant drumming began again, a low, ominous thrumming that vibrated in Elias's bones. He sat on the porch, rifle across his lap, listening to the night. The scent of rain teased, but the clouds remained distant. He glanced back at the house, at the faint light seeping from the windows. Sarah was trying to be strong, but he knew she was terrified. The air was thick and heavy with unspoken fear. Nalin slept fitfully inside, tossing and turning, muttering in his sleep. Elias wondered what dreams haunted the boy. What had he seen? What had he done? The coyote howls grew louder, closer, a chorus of mournful cries that echoed through the valley. Elias gripped his rifle tighter, his senses on high alert. He was a farmer, not a soldier. But he would fight, like a cornered wolf, to protect his own. Would he have the strength to do what needed to be done? As the first light touched the horizon, Elias woke Nala. We ride, he said, his voice flat. You're going to take me to him. Nalin looked at him, his eyes wide with fear. No. He will kill me. He'll kill all of us if I don't stop him, Elias said, his gaze unwavering. You help me, and maybe, just maybe, we all survive. What will it cost him now? He saddled 2 horses, his movements quick and efficient. He gave Nalin a smaller mount, a gentle mare that wouldn't spook easily. As they rode out of the ranch, leaving Sarah and Thomas behind in the cellar, Elias felt a knot of guilt tighten in his stomach. Was he leading this boy to his death? And what if Nalin was leading him into a trap? They rode for hours, following a narrow trail that wound through the foothills. The sun climbed higher, beating down on them with relentless intensity. The air hangs thick, heavy with the scent of dust and sage. Nalin remained silent, his face pale and drawn. Elias could feel the boy's fear radiating off him like heat from a fire. How much further? Elias asked, his voice rough. Nalin pointed to a distant ridge. Beyond there, in the canyon of the Whispering Stones. The canyon of the Whispering Stones. Elias had heard stories of that place, whispers of ancient spirits and hidden dangers. He felt a prickle of unease crawl up his spine. What awaited them in that desolate place? They pressed on, the horses struggling through the rocky terrain. As they neared the ridge, Elias noticed something glinting in the distance. He squinted, trying to make out what it was. A reflection of sunlight. Or something else? He urged his horse forward, his hand resting on the grip of his rifle. The air grew colder as they ascended, a chill that had nothing to do with the elevation. Was it a trick of the light? Or were they already being watched? As they crested the ridge, Elias saw them. A group of riders, silhouetted against the sky, their faces hidden beneath wide-brimmed hats. They were waiting for them. And in the center of them all, a figure cloaked in shadow, his presence radiating an aura of menace that made Elias's blood run cold. Had Nalim betrayed him? "Welcome, Elias Thorne," the figure said, his voice a low, gravelly rasp that seemed to echo through the canyon. "I've been expecting you." "Fear tastes like dust." Elias spat, the grit a bitter reminder of the days ahead. The boy, 10 summers at most, lay still, breath shallow. Elias knelt, Winchester against mesquite. To kill him would be mercy, a quick end to hardship. But the thought gnawed. Information, the raiders, the shadow. What did they want? He reached for his canteen, saddle leather squeaking in the sudden silence. The sun bled red, painting the desert in hues of blood and fire. Water onto a cloth, cleaning the boy's deep leg gash. The boy flinched, dark eyes fluttering. Suspicion, but a flicker of hope? What if he could reach him? Stop the shadow before the cavalry arrived too late. He tore strips from his own shirt, binding the wound tight. The boy watched, silent. Elias knew it was a gamble. Trust was rare, especially between white men and Apache. He offered the canteen. "Water." His voice rough. "Drink, be cash." Hesitation, then a trembling hand reached. He drank deeply, eyes never leaving Elias. The air hung thick with history and prejudice. But Elias saw something else, shared humanity. Was he a fool? Sacrificing his family for naive hope? Night fell fast, the desert air cooling. The creaking windmill at the homestead cried out in the distance. Elias built a low fire, offered dried meat. Hesitation, then acceptance. They ate in silence, only the fire and coyote howls for company. He couldn't stay. Too exposed. He needed to strengthen defenses at the ranch. But he couldn't leave the boy. Not yet. What if justice kills hope? He pointed east, toward the rising moon's glow. "Ranch," he said, "my home. Safe." The boy looked, expression unreadable. "Understand? Trust?" Elias kept watch, rifle close. The boy slept fitfully, brow furrowed. Zara, Lily? Were they safe? Had the shadow struck again? What if the boy was a decoy? First light painted the sky orange and purple. The scent of rain teased. Elias woke the boy gently. "We go," he said. "What if mercy ruins justice?" The boy nodded, eyes wary but touched with gratitude. He tried to stand, leg buckling. Elias helped him up. "Slow," Elias said. "We go slow." The journey back was arduous. The boy could only walk short distances. Elias carried him when he could. The silence cracked with every twig, every rustle, What if justice kills hope? As they neared the ranch, Elias scanned the horizon. Nothing. But they were being watched. Eyes on them, cold and calculating. He reached the barbed wire. Everything looked normal. Too normal. The house stood silent, windmill turning lazily. Where were Sarah and Lily? He helped the boy over the fence, motioned him to stay. He crept towards the house, rifle raised, the front door ajar. He pushed it open. Sarah, he called, his voice barely a whisper. Lily. Silence. What if mercy ruins justice? He moved through the house, heart pounding. The kitchen empty, table set, doll. Lily's doll lay abandoned. In the bedroom, a note, hastily scrawled. Gone to town. Need supplies. Back by nightfall. Relief, then suspicion. Sarah would never leave without telling him. And she knew better than to go to town with the raiders loose. Something was terribly wrong. Who pays if he chooses wrong? Had they been taken? Was this a trap? He ran back outside, searching for the boy. He was gone. Vanished. No, Totti. He wasn't. Not vanished. Elias felt a surge of anger, hot and blinding. He had been a fool. Now, his family was in danger. He looked towards the mountains, towards the hidden passage he had sworn to protect. The passage the shadow intended to use to attack the town. He knew what he had to do. He had to break his promise. He had to betray his friend's trust. To save his family, he had to lead the shadow through the mountains. But could he live with the consequences? Could he sacrifice the lives of innocent people to save his own? The distant drumming of a war party started up, the rhythm a steady pulse in the desert. Can he reach it before the light dies? Fear tastes like dust, coating his tongue as he looked at the boy. The Apache scout lay sprawled in the dirt, a crimson stain blooming on his buckskin shirt. Elias knelt, his Winchester resting across his lap, the metal cold against his sweat-slicked hands. The boy's eyes, dark and wild, flickered with pain and something else. Defiance? Or was it just fear mirroring his own? The sun bled red, painting the sky in hues of blood and fire. Elias knew he didn't have much time. The raiders would be back. They always came back. He glanced towards the ranch house, the silhouette of his wife, Sarah, framed in the window, a rifle clutched in her arms. Their children, little Martha and young Caleb, were huddled behind her, their faces pale in the fading light. He had to protect them. He would protect them. He touched the boy's wound gingerly. A sharp intake of breath, a hiss of pain. The bullet had passed clean through, a lucky shot. He could let him die. End it quickly. But the boy's youth haunted him. He saw Caleb in those dark eyes, saw the potential for innocence lost to the savagery of this land. Was he any better than the Chiricahua raiders if he killed a wounded boy in cold blood? Elias tore a strip from his own shirt, wincing as he ripped the sturdy fabric. He began to clean the wound, his movements deliberate, his gaze locked on the boy's face. Silence cracked like a whip, broken only by the boy's shallow breaths and the distant creaking of the windmill, a mournful song on the rising wind. "What's your name, boy?" Elias asked, his voice rough. The boy spat on the ground. Elias sighed. He hadn't expected gratitude, but the animosity stung. He continued to tend the wound. He had until first light to get something, anything, out of this kid. The air hung thick with the scent of rain teases, a promise of relief that might never come. Elias knew these mountains. He knew the fickle nature of the desert storms. He needed information, and he needed it fast. He considered his options. Torture? He shuddered at the thought. He wasn't a monster. He was a farmer, a husband, a father. But what was a man to do when everything he loved was on the line? Could he truly hold on to his humanity when faced with such barbarity? He finished bandaging the wound, tying the makeshift bandage tight. The boy watched him, his expression unreadable. Elias leaned back, the Winchester still across his lap. They call themselves the Shadow, Elias said, testing the waters. Who is he? What does he want? The boy remained silent, his eyes fixed on the ground. Only the faint tremor in his hands betrayed his fear. The first coyote howls echoed through the valley, a chilling chorus that mirrored the unease in Elias's heart. He knew the raiders were out there, watching, waiting. He felt their presence like a physical weight, pressing down on him, suffocating him. He had to break through the boy's silence. He had to find a way to reach him. He pulled out his canteen, offering it to the boy. Water. The boy hesitated, then snatched the canteen, gulping down the water greedily. Elias watched him, studying his face, searching for any sign of weakness, any hint of vulnerability. What will it cost him now? My family, Elias said, his voice low. They're all I have. This land. It's all we have. We ain't looking for trouble. We just want to be left alone. Was he pleading with the boy, or trying to convince himself? The boy lowered the canteen, a single drop of water clinging to his chin. He wiped it away with the back of his hand. Still, he said nothing. Elias knew he was running out of time. The moon was rising, casting long, eerie shadows across the valley. Each creak of the windmill, each rustle of the wind through the mesquite, sounded like the approach of the raiders. The distant drumming, faint but persistent, throbbed in his ears. A relentless countdown to the inevitable. Is the price worth the trail ahead? He stood up, stretching his aching muscles. He walked over to his horse, a sturdy Appaloosa named Apache, and untied a small pouch from the saddle. He returned to the boy, kneeling beside him once more. I found this, Elias said, holding out the beaded bracelet he'd found near the site of the initial raid. The boy's eyes widened, a flicker of recognition in their depths. It ain't Apache. Whose is it? The boy's silence finally cracked. A single word escaped his lips, barely audible, like a whisper carried on the wind. Can he reach it before the light dies? Maria. Kai. Elias felt a jolt, a surge of adrenaline. Maria. Who was Maria? And what did she have to do with the Chiricahua raiders? The twist seed had sprouted, and now he had to nurture it. Was she a hostage? A captive? Or something else entirely? What risk did that something else pose? He pressed the boy gently. Who is Maria? Is she with the Shadow? The boy hesitated, then nodded slowly. She is his daughter. Elias's mind reeled. The Shadow had a daughter. A white daughter. How could that be? This changed everything. This added another layer of complexity to an already impossible situation. What did it all mean? And how could he use this information to protect his family and his land? The scent of rain teases grew stronger, the air heavy with anticipation. He had a name now. Maria Dot. A connection. A potential weakness. But could he exploit it without sacrificing his own soul? First light was only hours away. What if justice kills hope? He looked back at the ranch. Sarah was still at the window, a vigil keeper. Could he trust this kid? Should he send a rider for the cavalry now, or would that doom them all? Fear tastes like dust. He spat, the grit catching in his throat. The boy, no older than 10 summers, lay still, a ragged tear in his shoulder bleeding sluggishly onto the Arizona earth. Elias knelt, rifle heavy. The sun bled red, painting the valley in hues of blood and fire. He remembered Caleb, humming as he chased butterflies. This boy, a scout, a harbinger of death. Did innocence matter on the face of the enemy? Elias reached for his canteen. Water was precious. The boy's shallow breaths rasped against the creaking windmill. He trickled water onto parched lips. The boy coughed, dark eyes fluttering open, mirroring Elias's own fear. He knew enough Apache. Who leads? Defiance flickered. Elias repeated, slower. Silence cracked. The boy's eyes darted mountainsward, then back, fear wrestling. Confusion? Could he not know? Or was this a ploy? He remembered the child's bracelet near the burned wagon. Not Apache. What game? He cleaned the wound, ripped a strip from his shirt to bind it. The boy flinched. Little time. The sun sank. Night brought raiders. Why are they attacking? He whispered. What do they want? The boy rasped, almost inaudible. The shadow. He wants the passage. The passage. Silas's deathbed vow. Never reveal the secret way through the mountains. Vital to protect it. How did they know? Who was the shadow? Elias rose, joints protesting. Get the boy to the ranch, learn more. Trust him? A viper in his nest? He slung the boy over his shoulder, pain shooting through his leg. What if justice kills hope? Distant drumming, a pulse of dread. The scent of rain teased, obscuring the approaching enemy. He reached the ranch house as the last sun disappeared. Sarah met him, face etched with worry. Caleb clung to her skirt, eyes wide. Who is that? Sarah asked, voice tight. What if mercy ruins justice? An Apache boy, Elias said flat. He's wounded. I need to tend to him. Sarah didn't protest, but fear lingered in her eyes. He understood. A gamble. But understanding flickered, a silent agreement. He laid the boy on a cot in the barn. He tended to the wound, giving more water. The boy watched, expression unreadable. The shadow, Elias said again. Who is he? The boy hesitated. He is not Apache. Not Apache? A renegade? A bandit? The air hung thick. The hours stretched. Elias sat vigil, rifle across his lap. Coyote howls echoed his despair. What if he lied? A trap. Could he trust anyone, even a child? And the passage? Break his promise to Silas. As midnight neared, the Apache boy spoke, barely a whisper. He wears a silver mask, the boy said. And he speaks with the tongue of a snake. What will it cost him now? A silver mask? A chill. He should turn him out. He'd almost decided when the boy said, "He'll kill my family if I tell." Leather saddles squeaked. Approaching riders. He could feel it. Elias checked his rifle. Had to choose. Trust the boy, protect the passage, save his family. What price? He stared down at the boy, the scout. The sun bled red, painting the Verde Valley in hues of blood and fire. The air hung thick, heavy with the scent of rain that threatened but never fell. Elias' hand tightened on the handle of his rifle. The boy's eyes, dark and wide, reflected the dying light. He was no older than 10, maybe 11. Too young to be a warrior, but old enough to die. The question clawed at Elias's throat. Why? What kind of man kills a child, even if that child is his enemy? He holstered his rifle, the leather saddle squeaking in protest. He knelt beside the boy, his joints creaking like the old windmill back on the ranch. The boy flinched, trying to scoot back, but a broken leg made escape impossible. Elias reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a canteen. "Here," he said, his voice rough. "Drink." The boy hesitated, suspicion warring with thirst in his eyes. Elias uncorked the canteen and held it out. Finally, the boy reached for it, his small hand trembling. He drank deeply, water spilling down his chin. What if justice kills hope? Silence cracked like a whip. The only sound was the boy's ragged breathing and the distant drumming, a heartbeat echoing across the valley. Elias pulled out a strip of jerky. "Eat, don't." Again the boy hesitated. But hunger won out. He took the jerky and gnawed on it, his eyes never leaving Elias's face. Can he reach it before the light dies? "Why?" Elias asked, his voice low. "Why are you doing this? Attacking my ranch?" The boy didn't answer. He just stared, chewing slowly. Did he even understand English? Elias wondered. Or was he just playing dumb? Is the price worth the trail ahead? Elias tried again, speaking slowly and deliberately. "What does the shadow want?" The boy flinched at the name. A flicker of fear crossed his face. He swallowed hard. I don't know," he whispered, his voice hoarse. He says we need the land. He says the white man stole it from us. What if justice kills hope? This land?" Elias gestured around him. "I bought this land. Fair and square." The boy shrugged. "He says it was ours first." Elias sighed. He knew that argument. It was as old as the West itself. But that didn't excuse killing women and children. Is the price worth the trail ahead? How many more innocent lives would be lost before this was over? He looked at the boy's broken leg. It was a bad break, clean through. If he didn't set it, the boy would be crippled for life. Or worse. "I'm going to help you," Elias said. "I'm going to set your leg. Who pays if he chooses wrong?" The boy's eyes widened in alarm. He tried to pull away, but Elias held him firmly. "It's going to hurt," Elias said. "But it's better than dying." He ripped a strip of cloth from his shirt and tied it around the boy's mouth. "Bite down on this. Is the price worth the trail ahead?" Then, with a deep breath, he grabbed the boy's leg and pulled. The boy screamed, a muffled cry of agony that tore through the silence. Elias gritted his teeth and held on, setting the bone as quickly and cleanly as he could. When he was finished, He bound the leg tightly with strips of cloth and splints made from branches. The boy lay panting, his face pale and slick with sweat. Elias untied the cloth from his mouth. Who pays if he chooses wrong? It's done, he said. It'll heal. The boy looked at him, his eyes filled with a mixture of pain and gratitude. Why? He asked again, his voice barely a whisper. Why did you help me? What if justice kills hope? Elias didn't have an easy answer. He wasn't sure he even knew. Maybe it was because he saw a little bit of himself in the boy. A young man caught in a world of violence and hatred, just trying to survive. Or maybe it was because he couldn't bring himself to leave a wounded child to die, no matter who he was. Because, Elias said finally, everyone deserves a chance. The boy looked at him for a long moment, then closed his eyes. He was asleep within minutes, exhausted from pain and fear. What will it cost him now? Elias sat beside him, watching the stars come out. The scent of rain teased, but still it didn't fall. The distant drumming continued, a constant reminder of the danger that surrounded them. Would helping this boy make him a target? Would it make his family a target? He knew that the shadow wouldn't show the same mercy. He knew that the raiders would be back. First light crept over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gray and pink. Elias woke the boy, offering him more water and jerky. The boy ate in silence, his eyes still wary. I need to know something, Elias said. The passage. The one through the mountains. The shadow is going to use it, isn't he? The boy hesitated. He looked away, his face troubled. Can he reach it before the light dies? He said we're going to attack the town, he whispered. He said we're going to take everything. Elias felt a cold dread grip his heart. The town. That meant more innocent lives. More bloodshed. He had made a promise to a dying friend years ago. A promise to keep that passage secret. To protect it at all costs. But now, is the price worth the trail ahead? What was the price of keeping that promise? And what was the price of breaking it? How long? Elias asked. How long until they attack? Tonight, the boy said. He said we attack tonight, when the moon is high. The ticking clock echoed in Elias's ears. Tonight, dot. He had less than a day. He looked at the boy, his face etched with worry. Can you show me the way to the passage? The boy's eyes widened in fear. He shook his head. What will it cost him now? I can't, he whispered. He'll kill me if I do. He'll kill you anyway, Elias said. He'll kill everyone. Unless we stop him. The boy looked at him, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. He knew Elias was right. But the fear of the shadow was a powerful thing. Is the price worth the trail ahead? The coyote howls started in the distance. Could he convince this boy to betray his own people? And even if he did, could Elias live with the consequences? What if mercy ruins justice?